Jazz gets formulated sometime between the 1890s. By 1910-15, jazz is firmly established. Classical, that is traditional New Orleans jazz. And say this parallels a real decline. There's several social economic things that are quite clear that happened during this time. The culmination of the disasters of the Civil War for the city economically, and then this racial divide, which had existed before, but not in the extreme it became by the 1890s.
What's going on, if there's a musical tradition that's invented here, it's invented kind of not in the dying light, but while the light is going out. You know what I mean? It's like dusk for New Orleans in the 20s and 30s, and that the city's just going to continue to, like, I can't remember, I heard the mayor say something like bleed people. You know what I mean? Like, that people are just not, they're moving to more urban places, they're moving out of the South, they're moving to Houston, they're moving to Atlanta. So, I mean, what was it like to be a black musician is like the brain trust of the city is leaving. That's not white or black, but the problem is that those people, the culture that they're sort of serving, or the population they're serving, is going perilously down. And I think that what you would see in the 50s was really sort of the last, it's like elderly people that were the last sort of living, like torchbearers of something that was created in their youth, or at least when they were sort of in their prime. That's very much like on the decline.
And thus you have the arrival of Sandy and Alan Jaffe in the city. They were sort of bohemian types. They liked jazz, which by the 1950s was considered to be, the music. It's a generation past. Their parents' generation were taken with jazz. By the time they were in the 1950s, you've already gone through swing, you've gone through big bands, you're into other sorts of things. And they're coming back and looking for jazz in New Orleans and can't find it. So that, the story then, when they decide to come back, and they found the musicians. Musicians wouldn't play jazz because there's no money and nobody seemed to want it anymore. The Jaffes had other ideas.
The motto for New Orleans, this was like the Chamber of Commerce was marketing New Orleans as the city that care forgot. A place that's been left behind. I think it's actually quite accurate in so many ways, like from the state of the streets to the sort of like civic infrastructure of the city. But it's also something that the city markets. That's a really depressing aspect of like what happens when a place actually has some like life to it, is that like the gentrifiers show up. Like, that's me. You know what I mean? Like, that's who's coming to New Orleans and changing. Even if they appreciate it, they're drastically changing the ecosystem because they're showing up here with a lot more money. That means they want restaurants, they want Whole Foods. They don't want the kind of poverty that created all this music. They want like a veneer of poverty, or poverty in certain places that they don't live.
Our major industry is tourism, hospitality, restaurants, hotels, motels, and the folks who are working those jobs in the kitchen, making up the beds, cooking the food, those folks are the working poor in this town. It's just for generations they have not shared in the revenue in those industries.
We as an organization have an obligation to our musicians to really pass on what they know. I mean, the second that one of them passes away, all of the knowledge that they have dies with them. And to have an opportunity where they are the ones that are the experts, they're the ones in charge, the ones leading what we're doing, it helps pass on that knowledge to another generation. So our legacy program is our youngest program, if you will, but it formalized what the Jaffe family had done when they first started Preservation Hall, which was take care of the musicians. Without musicians, we can't be Preservation Hall. And I will always go back to this idea because if you don't have musicians performing at a music venue, or you don't have musicians performing the music of your city, what's the point? So it really takes care of them in many facets, with like some of the musicians through our Master Practitioners program receive a monthly stipend. Those are musicians age 70 and up. There are other musicians that receive healthcare benefits. We also do parking benefits, lawn care, mental health services, tax preparation, you name it. Anything that you would need as an individual, especially as you're aging, that's what we're taking care of. So the whole well-being of the musician, so they can worry about just playing some music. So I think the one thing that Preservation Hall does but isn't always communicated is that it has created a sense of family within the musical community. For so many of our musicians, Preservation Hall isn't a place to perform at, it is a family environment. It's where their cousins, their brothers, their sisters, anyone under the sun that they might be related to or might not be related to come together to perform music. And it's music that they all love and carry a passion for. So one of the really just creating that sense of family when so many other things around us are changing that we have no control of is a really positive effect. Some of the changes have been necessary in infrastructure, and some of the changes have been really wonderful. Like I think about the monuments being removed, for example. I heard more of our musicians talking about that than anything else. It was a welcome surprise and a very welcome change. So there have been great changes and there have been negative changes.
I don't think we're at a particular juncture of crisis. Like, I think New Orleans has gone through worse. I think this cycle of storms poses such an enormous threat. Like that's the existential threat. You can't just take this culture and bring it somewhere else and it's going to be the same. That said, culture's not supposed to be static. So it's good when things are revitalized and revisited. There are traditionalists and that there are also people who are exploring the frontiers of that thing. I think that it's the particular circumstances that we're in right now where the city has this the post-Katrina appeal of New Orleans as this exciting, funky, affordable place. That's already gone. I mean, certain aspects of it. So when that obviously represents a certain kind of crisis that I don't think the city has faced in the same way before. But if you think about where it was in 1850 or 1860 and how far down it's come, just in terms of population influence as a port, the size of the metropolis, it's probably not the most critical moment in New Orleans' history, except as when we're talking about cultural, unique cultural products of New Orleans, they're always endangered. But I think gentrification plays a pretty serious role in that. It's more about whether New Orleans can keep that while all these assaults are happening on its system.